Hello. Well, I've been hard at it on the internet again, and there's still a lot of talk about what Doge is doing, and now there's been even President Trump said, you know, in fact, I mentioned it yesterday. He talked about taking 20% of the savings made by cutting all these nonsensical programs and spending and giving it back to the people. Well, there have been a lot of people that have, especially a lot of Democrats, that, knee jerk reaction, no, can't do that. I watched one congressperson, Jasmine Crockett from Texas, has made her name, touting the great advances through DEI, and another one of her pet projects was reparations. That's where they take money from white people who have never owned slaves, and give it to black people who have never been slaves, all in the name of, making reparations for slavery. No, I'm not going to pay for a crime, and it was a crime. That no one will argue that fact. Otherwise, slavery was a crime. It should have it shouldn't have happened. But we've had slavery since, one group of people met another group of people. There's been slavery since before history. The Babylonians had slaves. There was slavery in Europe. There's always been slaves. But the West, the European countries, or Western European countries, and the United States for over half of its existence actually thwarted slavery. But anyway, Crockett is on saying we don't have the money for it. Well, if we don't have the money to give the taxpaying citizens who have been cheated out of their money, and that's basically what the government has been doing for 50 some odd years, 100 some odd years, has been cheating the American taxpayer. They keep taking and taking and taking more of what we make, what we earn, and using it for things that don't even affect us, don't have nothing to do with us. I mean, circumcision in Africa. What does that give the American people? A, a, a trans opera in Bolivia. Well, what benefit do we get from that? Absolutely none. But we have all this money, according to Crockett, to pay black people who have never been slaves, who have more rights now than they've ever had in American history. There is not one right, not one liberty that I have as a white American that a black American does not have. They have freedom of speech. I have freedom of speech. They have freedom of religion. I have freedom of religion. They have the right to bear arms. I have the right to bear arms. The Constitution is colorblind. Every American citizen has these rights that are enumerated in the Constitution. But somehow I have to feel guilty. My ancestors fought they were from Kentucky, but they fought for the North. Why do I have to pay reparations? My ancestors fought to free the slaves. But according to Miss Crockett, we have the money to pay reparations to the ancestors of the slaves, or the people who descended from the slaves, but we don't have money to give each taxpayer that has been cheated by the government. We don't have the money to, give them a portion of that back. It doesn't, her logic doesn't make sense. Another argument out there is that it will cause inflation. Not near as much inflation as the last 4 years of a corrupt government or the last 50 years of corrupt governments have given us. From when the income tax was initiated in 1913, you could buy a dozen eggs for 10 cents. You could buy 18 eggs for, I looked it up. 18 eggs, a dozen and a half eggs in 1913 would have cost about 10 to 15 cents. I just looked in the grocery store just yesterday. The price of 18 eggs was over $11, almost $12. That's inflation. That's ugly inflation. I remember you'd pay 80 cents for a loaf of bread. Now you're paying $2, $4. That's gross inflation. And that's just been since I started being a manager at the local grocery store. It was 80 some cents for a loaf of bread. Now it's $2 to $4. And most of that time, I spent 9 years there. For 4 of those, I worked while Joe Biden was president. So that's just, most of that has been, over half of that has been under Joe Biden. And they're worried that taking 20% of what we've been cheated out of for 100 or some odd years is going to cause inflation. Where was your worry 4 years ago? Sounds kind of disingenuous to me. But they're putting every roadblock they can even imagine in front of Trump. And This time he came in with a steamroller. He's just rolling over them. He's not letting Congress or the Democrats or the liberals stop his momentum. And I, for one, I'll get out and start pushing and, you know, give him some more momentum. He's doing what the American people asked. They got Democrats were going to have a rally outside of the FBI building because Kash Patel was made the head of the FBI, and they were going to have a demonstration showing their disdain. 5 people showed up. They haven't got the people behind them. In fact, the people are fleeing from them. And I hope, part of me says, yeah, I hope this goes through. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I feel kind of cheated by the system. Part of me, I'm a fiscal conservative, and I can see, yeah, it's going to raise interest a bit. Not near what they're talking, not near what the Democrats are saying, but it's going to raise it a bit. But then once all these cuts that Trump is bound and determined to make, as soon as we start paying off some of the debt, you'll find the interest rate will go lower. And people will actually be able to go to the store with $100 and have enough to last more than a week. They'll be able to buy more things with their dollar. That the interest is the inflation has gone up because of mismanagement. Well, now we're going to stop mismanaging it. We're going to manage it as it should be managed. And that'll drop it'll drop the inflation rate faster than it'll raise if the American taxpayer is given more of his money. The only thing that will diminish is the hold that federal government has on the American citizen. We've legislated ourselves into a position where more people are living off of the government than are contributing to it. And yeah, there's going to be some yowls because, there are some that we should take care of. People that are physically unable to work. We should have a system for them. And we have that. Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, our retirees. People that are too old to work anymore. Yeah, that part of Social Security is good. But someone who comes across the border, has never paid into the system, and suddenly has housing, a car, and a phone paid for by the government, no, that can't be sustained because they never paid in. It's pay as you go. We've allowed so many people to dip from our bucket that our bucket's getting empty. but we won't let the people that are going down there and filling the bucket all the time, won't let them, by the time they go up to use the bucket, it's empty. And that's what Trump is trying to do. If you aren't part of this, if you are not here legally, get out. We'll let you in. We have a legal means to let you in, and you may have to wait a bit, but our legal way alone lets in over 1 million a year. 1 million people a year become American citizens. But that doesn't make you feel real good when you look at the border and you got 10 million coming in illegally against our laws. And I've said before, people cry, well, these aren't criminals. A criminal breaks the law. They broke our law just by coming in here the way they did. That makes them criminals. Some of them were criminals in their last country. They killed people. They were gang members. They run drugs. They did something illegal, got too hot for them there, so they run across the border and think that they're going to be able to set up shop here. And what are they going to do here? Kill people, run drugs, set up gangs. Good grief, we had gangs that took over two apartment buildings. Yes, it was only two. So why is everybody making a big... Where on earth can you just go up to an apartment complex with a bunch of your buddies and say, this is ours now. You pay rent to us? No, it don't go that way. Or it shouldn't. Now we're starting to put teeth to our laws. If you came to this country illegally, we got ICE agents that'll ship you back. You came to our country as part of a gang and killed somebody, you're going to stand trial. And while you're waiting for that trial, you're going to sit in a cell in Guantanamo Bay. Yeah. Giving checks to, I remember the Bush's tax rebate. I remember the money we got from the government during COVID. I remember all that. And yeah, the inflation went up, but we had nobody even touching our fraud and abuse in our government. I think between the two of those, I think they'll kind of counter each other. In fact, one might overwhelm the other one. I think the inflation will go up a tick, but then it'll shoot back down because we're not spending as much money as we were. And we're spending our money on our citizens, not in spite of our citizens. I just had a year in accounting school. So, and I was told in accounting school that I could never be an accountant because I have a sense of humor. But I know how to stretch a dollar. I had a grandmother that lived during the Depression. She taught me how to make each dollar count. I had parents that lived through the 70s. They knew how to stretch a dollar. They knew how to make they keep telling the story that when they started out in the 60s, they had $50 for a month to buy groceries. Nowadays, you can't use $50 to buy. If you take a date and go out and have dinner, it's $50. And my parents made a living, lived for a month on the food that they bought for $50. That's inflation. And it's been around, it's been building a lot longer than the 4 years that Trump is going to be in office. But the inflation was basically built up because of government mismanagement. You get rid of some of that mismanagement, your inflation is going to go down. And no, it won't be as fast as everybody wants. Everybody wants it immediately. We've got ourselves to a point where instant gratification is the key. Well, it's not going to be instant. It's going to take a while, and it's going to take everybody working together. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of this. I'm starting to get hopeful, mainly because I look at the Democrat Party and the Liberal Party and the liberal agenda, and I see no one that anybody with even a one brain cell would vote for. But I've been proven wrong before, and I probably will be again. But right now, this feels good, like putting peroxide on a paper cut. There's a little bit of pain there, but you can tell it's doing something. And that's all conservatives want, is for someone to do something. We spent so many years where we said, hey, it's getting hard to live down here. And government just looks over us. Did you hear something? Now we got somebody that'll actually say, I hear you. Give me a minute. I'll take care of this. It's refreshing. It's We've waited far longer than we should have. But now that it's here, give it a chance to work. We finally got a government that is listening to the American people. Give them a chance to work. I mean, we elected Joe Biden, and he was tone deaf from the day he started, but we still gave him a chance, much to our chagrin. Now let's give Trump a chance. And what he's been doing and saying so far, I like it. He's causing the Democrats to look in the mirror. You want to see where our problem is? Look in the mirror. And there's those that refuse to look in the mirror. Well, get them out of there then. But that's what I saw on the internet today. There's still trouble brewing in Gaza. There's still stuff going on in Europe. But I remembered what I said yesterday, and I saw some naysayers on there today, but I honestly don't think, with the combination of the two things that are going on, with Trump slashing the government and offering to, trying to make it so that some of the people will get some gratification out of it. I think for the first time in a long time, I think we'll be all right. I'm encouraged. Looking forward to what else is coming down, because they're not done. They say that the honeymoon period is the first 100 days. But he's going through, his people are getting confirmed, and they're trying to right a lot of wrongs. There may be a couple that get dropped on the way, but they're doing something. We had 4 years of Biden where if he did do something, which he usually didn't, but if he did do something, the American people would say no, and he'd do it anyway. And everything he did just drove inflation higher, drove the debt higher. And we kept telling him, no, that's not, you can't throw money at that problem. Because all that does is make the problem bigger. But now we have a president that's listening to the American people, caring what they say, actually listening to the people. I've seen more interviews with Trump in the first 3 weeks that he's been president than I saw the whole 4 years we had Biden. Biden would hide. Somebody would say a strong word and he'd slither off somewhere and hide for a while. You hear Trump speaking every day, if not every other. We've got someone that cares about America in the White House now, and it's about time. This country has shed more blood for people outside of its borders. It's time we do something for the people within our borders, the citizens of this country, the ones who made the reputation of America. Got about 45 seconds left. So that's what I saw today. And I'll be looking again. I'll probably put another one up tomorrow, another video up tomorrow. But if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. If you got a comment, give it to me. If you want to subscribe, please do. But until the next time, Semper Fi.